Alright, what is good, ladies and gentlemen, is the Master Reviewer back again with another review, and tonight we are doing a review for Cars 3, the third movie in the Cars trilogy, and yeah, watched it. Tonight I'm doing the review. Tomorrow I will do the viewer recommendation comparison. I'm not going to do it tonight because I do have to be on a train in a few hours. I don't really like the days where I'm doing these recordings the night before. I have to be on a train in the morning, but it is what it is. I finished watching the movie now, and so I want to review it all still fresh in my mind. And so with that said, let us just begin. Actually, right before we do begin, I will say that I did watch this in theaters around the time it came out, about like 9 years ago by now. 2017 is when it came out. So honestly, this franchise feels like a lot more, it feels a lot older, honestly, than it actually is. Like, I would have thought that the third film came out back in like, I don't know, 2014 or something like that. I thought like the first few films came out in like the early 2000s, but yeah, anyway, so let us just begin starting off with the plot. So this is basically a legacy film where, for those of you who don't know, a legacy film is basically where you take a, like, it's basically you take a character from like a film, but then it's like they're kind of past their prime, and this film is basically, you have Lightning McQueen who is passing on the mantle to like a new racer, basically. It's like, it's similar to Rocky. It's similar to like the Rocky and Creed kind of movies and stuff, where legacy films is basically a established character passing on the mantle to a new character. So that is basically what happens in this film, where you have Lightning McQueen. He at the beginning of the film, it's like he's winning races and stuff. He's having a good time with like some of his fellow racing mates and stuff. But as time goes by, it's like there are new racers that are now entering the scene. Specifically, the main antagonist of the film kind of is Jackson Storm, who is a new generation racer, and these new generation racers, they are taking advantage of a lot of technology that is able to analytically calculate like all the advantages that they could have like during a race. It's like they have these high-tech simulators that are able to simulate racetracks and stuff, and so they have like all this technology, and they're doing all these calculations in order to give themselves the edge in races. And so Lightning McQueen and a lot of the veteran racers, they just can't keep up with the new gen, basically. So this film is about Lightning McQueen. He doesn't want to like give up racing. He still wants to have he wants to decide when he's done. He does this film, like the second film, kind of very much this film kind of goes back to a lot of the stuff that the first film had, where it's like they do reference a lot Doc Hudson now, which is the second film. It's like they mention Doc in the second film, but not as like this film. They definitely like really focus on him, like his legacy, I guess. And even characters like Chick, I keep forgetting his name. It's Chick Hitch. Yeah, I think it was Chick Hitch. So Chick Hitch, he is back in this film like as an announcer. Basically, he's still riding on the coattails of his one victory that he had in the first film. And so yeah, this film is like definitely, it feels much more like a sequel, I would say, compared to the second film. The second film just kind of felt like just another installment in the franchise, but this one definitely feels like a sequel to, I guess, the original film. So anyway, so yeah, Lightning McQueen, he ends up, so his sponsor, Rusty, I forgot their names, but Danny and I think Dusty and Rusty, yeah, that's their name. So they end up selling their business to this guy Sterling, who basically becomes Lightning McQueen's new sponsor, and he gives him this trainer, Cruz Ramirez. She is the trainer, she is tasked with basically training Lightning McQueen, but she is training him in a way that that he doesn't think is useful, because she is kind of treating him like an elder. So it is not really going anywhere. So a lot of the middle of the film is basically Lightning and Cruz. They are trying to like train together, but it feels like Lightning is just kind of, he can't really get any real training done because Ramirez keeps on getting in his way. And so yeah, they end up like training on a beach. They end up going to this derby, like this derby place that they end up competing in. And eventually, yeah, so Lightning, he gets really upset with Ramirez. He basically like tells her that like she doesn't know like what he's going through because she was never a racer and stuff. And then this is when it's revealed that Cruz, she never wanted to be a racer. She actually wanted to, the opposite. She never wanted to be a trainer. She wanted to be a racer. She wanted to compete, but she never had like the guts to go through with it. Like, she did end up entering a race, but she was never able to like start actually going because she was too afraid of like just competing, I guess. And so yeah, that actually leads into like one of the best lines of the entire franchise, where Cruz, she asks Lightning how he was able to race during his first race, and he says, "I just never thought I couldn't do it." So I thought that was like honestly one of the best lines in a movie that I've heard in a while. So anyway, they end up, so Lightning, he ends up realizing that he should get out. Like, he's on a phone call with Mater, he's like trying to, speaking with his best friend and stuff, and then Mater gives him the idea to, like, indirectly, like, with the way Mater's like talking, he's spitting some stuff out, and then he mentions something about how, I forgot exactly what he said basically, but then he gave Lightning the idea to go find Doc Hudson's teacher, basically, who was Smokey. So then Lightning goes, he apologizes to Cruz, and then together they go to find Smokey along with some other veteran racers that were pretty big back in the day. So they end up training, both here, Lightning and Cruz, they end up training together with the help of Smokey and some of the other veteran racers, and so they are, they're racing, but then ultimately, like, Lightning is still seeing that he is not getting to, like, the point that he needs to be, so that kind of worries him a bit. So eventually now we get to the final race of the movie, where it's technically, like, I guess the first race of the new season, but yeah, so anyway, Lightning enters it, and he sees that he is not really, he's competing, but he sees that he is, so actually I don't remember, like, I just finished watching this, but I don't actually remember specifically if he started losing, but I do remember, so Sterling, at this point, Sterling kind of, like, tells Ramirez, Sterling is a character that is very motivated by money. It's like he only gives Lightning the opportunity to compete because he wants, like, he's very much focused on just, like, being able to make money off of, like, his racers and stuff. So Sterling tells Ramirez that she has to go back to train some of the rookie racers and stuff, and so that leads to, like, him shouting at her because she wants to say, she asks if she could say, but then Sterling gets very upset at her, and so this leads to Lightning basically telling Smokey, like, to make sure that she doesn't leave, get her back there, and so like, Cruz left, but then she comes back from Lightning's request, and then Lightning decides that she is going to finish the race for him, and so he ultimately, like, because there was also earlier in the film when Lightning spoke with Smokey about Hudson and how it's like he doesn't want to end up like Hudson, where Doc didn't get to basically choose when the racing industry kind of decided when it was his time to finish, and so Lightning was saying a lot how he didn't want that to happen to him, and he wanted to decide when he was done, but Smokey basically told him, like, no, the best part of, like, Doc's life was not racing, it was actually training you to become, like, a good racer and stuff. So this kind of leads into, it's like kind of foreshadowing for what happens now, where McQueen ultimately decides that he wants to give Cruz the chance to race, and so that is what happens. She basically finishes the race for Lightning, and so Lightning acts as her mentor the same way Doc Hudson acted as Lightning's mentor, and so this is basically him passing down the mantle, where she is now going to she's going to be the new racer for, I guess, Rusty's, and so so she is racing, and this part's like a bit unbelievable, where it's like she's still a pretty new rookie racer, but I guess all because of I mean they did training and stuff, but even so, all the, like, new gen racers with, like, all the advantages with, like, the technology simulators and the analytical, like, stuff of, like, they have the exact tire pressure that's, like, most beneficial, and, like, all the aerodynamic advantages and stuff. It's like a slight bit unbelievable that, like, Cruz was able to beat all of them, but yeah, she does end up winning. She beats the race, and she pulls the exact same move that Turbo did, and I'm pretty sure Turbo came out before this film, so yeah, Turbo's whole thing where it's like he kind of, like, flips over Guy Gagné in that film, like, towards the end to win. So that is or not to win exactly from that film, but, like, to get the advantage, and so Cruz does that in this film to beat Jackson Storm, and so so she ends up winning. Everyone's celebrating stuff. Sterling, McQueen got Tex, the owner of Dynaco, to buy out Rusty's, and so Sterling is no longer, like, they're no longer contractually obligated to work for Sterling or whatever, because at this point he's, like, kind of revealed to, earlier he was bless you, he was acting like a jerk. So so now also the ends well. Cruz is, like, she's the new kind of big star racer, and Lightning is now her mentor, and it ends with them at Radiator Springs, and they are racing in the track that's the classic track at Radiator Springs that they raced at. So that is where the film ends. So overall, I would give the plot, I would say, between, like, a 3 to a 4. I would say I'll be generous, I'll give it a 4 out of 5. I will say I like the plot. I do think that these kind of legacy stories of, like, a character, like, coming back for one more attempt at, like, greatness, similar to once again the Rocky movies, where I think technically Rocky Balboa, that was a legacy film, and I guess the Creed movies are actually when he, like, passes down the mantle, but I think Rocky Balboa is more of, like, a legacy film. So yeah, anyway, the legacy films are usually good of like a character that's like we've known to be really good. It's like coming back for one last fight to prove that they still have it in them to win and stuff. So I think that those stories are pretty good. And passing, like stories about passing the mantle, they're also usually, I would say, you know, good to see like a character like entering a new phase of their life. That's like a difficult thing for the character themselves to deal with, and so it's an interesting to watch. So yeah, I would give the plot a 4 out of 5. In terms of the characters, I didn't think that basically it is Lightning McQueen, who's still fine. Cruz Ramirez, she's all right, not one of my favorites. Her training techniques are a bit like unorthodox, I would say. But yeah, she's very self-anxious throughout most of the movie, but ultimately Lightning believes in her, and so she's all right. I don't really care for her too much. Smokey as well, like all the veteran cars, they're fine. I don't have any strong thoughts. I think Jackson Storm, I do like Jackson Storm. I do think that he is a pretty good antagonist, where he is basically this. It's like he kind of acts as like he's all nice and stuff, saying like, oh, he's a big fan of Lightning McQueen and stuff, but he's always making these like offhand, like what's the word, backhanded compliments of basically saying like, oh, Lightning, it's like you were such a role model to me. It's I'm so glad to finally beat you and stuff. And so I'm maybe not portraying it well, but like he definitely, he's a character where it's like he's antagonistic, but he's like he masquerades it through like compliments to certain characters and stuff. So yeah, I would say that I like Jackson Storm, and besides him, there's honestly a lot of the characters from Radiator Springs that were in the last few films. By last few films, I mean like the last two films. Like Mater, honestly, is like not really in the film too much. Sally, she's in the film a bit. You have even like Guido and Luigi, the pit crew of Lightning McQueen. You don't really even see them too much either. So it's really just Lightning McQueen. You have Ramirez Sterling, he's in a few scenes, but he's revealed to like kind of be a jerk, so don't really like him too much after the way he treated Cruz. And yeah, who else is there? Jackson Storm I already mentioned, Smokey, and like the rest of the veterans, they're fine. So overall, the characters, I don't care for any of them too much. I'm just gonna go, Chick Hicks being back, I guess it's like interesting to see him return once again, but he is just kind of still a jerk to Lightning McQueen. Yeah, overall, we'll get to the character ranking for this franchise, and I'm also going to wait until I review the plain films as well to include those as well in the ranking. And yeah, but for now, I'm just going to say the characters I will give I don't love them too much. I would say Doc Hudson is also like in a few flashbacks, I think, here or there, but so yeah, I just give, I'm going to go like a 5 out of 10. I don't really love them. Not great, not terrible, I would say, so 5 out of 10. In terms of the settings, it is not as good as the last film, where it's like you did have it was like a world traveling, like it was like a world Grand Prix where it's like they went to all these different countries and locations and stuff, which I thought was nice. It's a bit more, you see a bit more locations than like the first film, where pretty much is all desert areas and Radiator Springs. This film has basically Florida settings, so it's like you have a beach, which is kind of cool to see. Some wood areas, some, I guess, the racing tracks, which are fine, I guess. And Radiator Springs, you don't even see too much of that, to be honest. So the settings in total, there's like some indoor areas of like the training facilities and stuff. It's all, I would say, I'm going to go like the Derby area. I honestly don't really love most of it. I'm just going to go a 5 out of 10. I don't really care for it. Not good, not terrible, I would say, just a 5 out of 10. In terms of the visuals, I do think that this film had some very nice visuals. There was a whole crash scene of Lightning McQueen, which I thought looked very, very nice to see, the slow motion crashes. Besides that, there was, the Derby had some nice explosions, which I thought was cool. Anytime the cars are just like moving really fast, it does look nice, I would say. And yeah, the visuals, I'll just go like we'll go like a 5.5. Decent visuals. The art style, once again, this isn't really my favorite art style. I don't think it looks the best, just like these anthropomorphic cars. It's not, I think, just the context of like the world and stuff, I don't really, it's a little off-putting, I guess, maybe. So I don't know, just 5.5 for the visuals. In terms of the worst thing I will probably say is this film does also kind of fall into a bit of a similar trap as the first film, where it's like the middle section is a bit boring. Like it does feel like a bit, it's like the first film was also, it's like a race at the beginning, a race at the end, and those are like the big, like the scenes that felt exciting. But then the middle section, the first film was like, okay, just like, some bonding moments between characters, some like, I guess, some stuff that leads to character developments and stuff. And this film also, it's like the middle of it, it's just like training sequences between Lightning and Cruz and stuff, whether it's like at the Derby, whether it's at the beach and stuff. And so it does feel a bit lackluster at times. And so, but I will say it was a bit better in this film compared to, I think, the first film, from what I remember. It might just be that this film was shorter overall, and the first film maybe felt a bit too long for me. But yeah, but this film also has the disadvantage of I did like the side characters of the first film, like Mater and, you know, I don't know, the other side characters of Radiator Springs. I like them a bit more than I think Cruz. Like Cruz was fine, but I don't know, maybe not. I liked the Radiator Springs cast more, but I don't know, Cruz was fine, but like she, at least Radiator Springs, it was like a whole cast of characters, like, so it didn't feel like, okay, just this one character that we are devoting so much attention to. So yeah, it's like it gave a bit more diversity, I guess, like a bit of variety, which I appreciated. So in terms of the worst thing, I'm just going to say that some of the training sequences, I don't know, the middle section, I'll say just not good. I don't know. I'll give it like, here, I didn't really like the derby, so yeah, I'm just gonna go 4.5 and say like, yeah, the derby, like a lot of the filler sequences of the training and stuff, a lot of it did get boring at times. So I'm just gonna say like 4.5 for all those moments, I would say. And in terms of the best thing, I would say that the best thing was probably, I guess I'll just reuse the best score, which was the plot. Again, it's like a legacy film, and I do like these kind of plots of a character coming, like trying to get one last win before like they hang up the gloves or whatever. I don't know, the main thing that I'm thinking of Rocky when I'm thinking of legacy films. I think of Rocky. So yeah, I would say yeah, it's a good, like I like the plot. I would say it is a good final like conclusion to, I guess, the character of, I mean, maybe they'll make a sequel where it's like, I don't know, I don't know what the sequel will be, but yeah, this is like basically concluding at the very start of the franchise. It was like Lightning McQueen's the rookie. The second film has like honestly nothing to do. It's like, I guess, Lightning McQueen in his prime when he's like racing around the world and stuff. And then in the third film, it is Lightning McQueen kind of like realizing that his time is coming to an end, and so him moving on to the next phase of his life of becoming a mentor to the next racer that will take up like the mantle of, I guess, I was gonna say the 95 number, but she had like, Cruz has a different number, so I guess just the mantle of being the next one to follow in the, like, I don't know, like the mantle of, I guess, Lightning McQueen's legacy or something like that. So yeah, and let's hear any extra notes that I did not already mention. No, I think I mentioned everything already, so I'm going to do the calculations. So King Crimson. All right, so it ends up coming out to a 6 out of 10 exactly, which would be above average, and I think I would probably give it, to be honest, like a bit lower than that. I think I would give it like, I think a 5.5. I thought it was decent. I honestly probably, it's like about the same level as the first film. Yeah, it turns out apparently like the second film was my favorite one from the franchise, I guess, which was surprising because apparently that is everyone's least favorite. So, but who knows? Maybe after I let all the films marinate a bit longer, when I get to the actual movie ranking, including the Planes film, Planes films, then maybe it'll shift here and there. Maybe this film will get higher. Maybe the second film will get lower. Maybe, or vice versa and stuff. So. Yeah, so for now, I just give it, like, I think a 5.5. I would need to let it marinate. I'm going to be harsh with it. I'm just going to give it a 5.5. I'm going to say it was decent, but yeah, I don't know. This franchise just isn't really one of my favorites, I would say. So, decent film, about as good as the first one. It worked. You know, certain aspects were better than the first film. Certain aspects were not as good. And so, yeah, overall, just a 5.5. I would say decent. And yeah, that is pretty much all there is to it. So if you have any recommendations, any shows, movies, video stories, anime, manga, web series, anything that you want me to review, leave it in the comments and I'll maybe possibly check it out. With that said, that is pretty much all there is to it, so let's leave it at that.